Welcome to Dorset Careers Live, our series of careers talks, and tonight's event is Careers in Construction. So welcome to you all, and thank you very much for giving up your evening to attend. I am Rebecca Phillips. I'm the Senior Enterprise Coordinator at the Dorset Careers Hub, and we're part of the Dorset LEP. Our role is to join the dots between businesses in our local community and the schools, with the aim of promoting good careers guidance and access to careers information and advice from our valued local employers. Tonight, our speaker is CG Fry and Son Builders, and I'm delighted to hand over to Sarah Pilling, who's going to host the event tonight. We will take questions at the end. We have got all cameras off and video and sound on mute, just so that we can have free flow. But it's a really relaxed session, and we'll, as I said, take questions at the end. So save up anything you would like to ask, and I can put that to our speakers. For now, I'm going to hand over to Sarah to start the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name's Sarah Pilling. I'm the Business Development Manager at CG Fry. We have been involved in many careers events, and I myself am a construction ambassador. We're very keen to encourage people into construction. It's a great career path, lots of opportunities. Hopefully what we'll go through tonight will help you decide on possibly a few routes. CG Fry and Son have been involved in Poundbury since 1993. In the early days, we had Eddie Fry, who's the father of our current managing director, Phil Fry, had the early meetings with Prince Charles. Poundbury is essentially, it's an urban extension to the county town of Dorchester. It's very much a community, and what we've built, you'll see in a video in a second. We hope that it will be complete in 2027, which will actually give you 2,500 homes and houses, plus some shops and offices, lots of different businesses. So we'll go through to a video now, which will just show you a bit more about Poundbury and what Poundbury's about, really.
It's a new town, but it's got an old school village feel.
There's nothing that I need that we don't have here. It's just a very pleasant, open place to live and to work.
The big reason we ended up here was because everything's in walking distance. And the thing is, it works around family.
There we go, ladies. Cappuccino and latte.
I've seen the community change so much. Different people moving in, and different people experiencing Poundbury and seeing it as a place to visit, a place to live, a place to work. And I can see us, evolving over the next few years.
I'm Steve Walker. I'm the project manager for CG Fry at Poundbury. I've been here now nearly 25 years, and we're still going strong today. CG Fry quality in Poundbury is to a very, very high standard. All my trades take real pride in what they're achieving. When I go around the country and I look at some of the other developments that are going on, I can see why, we're there, as number one.
My name's Patrick Nisi. I'm project manager for Morris Builders. We employ a lot of people from Dorchester, which makes it work really well because they're more committed. They take more pride. They come around on the weekends with their family and I built this and Dad built that. They're invested in people being happy when they move in, so we get very good customer feedback. And that's very different. In our industry now, that's not a buzzword anymore. Quality and customer satisfaction seems to be sort of going down the pecking order for most businesses. Here, it's completely different.
Here at Damon's First School, we want every child to understand where their food comes from. So they plant, they grow, they harvest. I think the Eco Crew enjoy making a difference. So can you tell me a bit more about Refill?
I like the fact that I know that everything I do is working towards trying to make the world a better place.
We have fantastic eco opportunities right on our doorstep.
We basically install solar panels and also solar storage batteries. Starting to work a bit more with the other developers here as well. So there's a couple of interesting technologies that are coming along where the roof tiles are actually solar panels. Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely place to work. Like I said, anyone who visits us seems to be really jealous. They want to live here, they want to work here.
I've found a place that everyone knows each other and everyone says hello to each other on the street. I know it sounds like a cliche, but we all do. And I've made friends really quickly, and I think that's a real example of how Panbury is actually working as a community.
There's lots of fantastic boutique shopping up here. Great thing for locals and a lovely thing for people much further beyond.
It's very dynamic. You're always seeing new things. It's not as if there's another row of 20 identical flats or houses.
It just feels like a part of family, and if there is anything going wrong, people are always there to support us.
It's just like the puzzle is now complete, and us living here and working here, it just works for us.
Thank you. I hope that's given you a bit of an overview and a whistle-stop tour of Panbury, a bit more what it's about, the community, and a bit of an insight onto all the different buildings that ourselves and other builders and developers such as Morris, as you saw, have built and made Panbury what it is today. It's all built on the Duchy of Cornwall land, and as that, there's different stages of house building, so there's lots of different careers that you can get involved in within the different stages. I've listed some of these here. The first one essentially is the landing planning. So once you've got the land, you have to actually be able to identify all the different requirements of the land that you're building on, whether it's contaminated land, the ecology side of things, and also the planning through the local authorities to what we want to build on it. Then we have technical and design, so that's the architects, builders, to ensure that what we're designing we can build. The things that we can build in a more environmentally sustainable way, such as the solar panels on the roofs that you heard about just then. Then we have different involvement in terms of pre-construction and commercial. So we have lots of estimators, surveyors that will actually price the work. So you've got to be good at maths for that role. And then it's in terms of construction on site, lots of different trades, skills from ground workers right through to carpentry, plumbing, etc., to actually and bricklaying to build the house. And it just doesn't stop there. In terms of once we've built the houses, there's customer service and sales to make sure that we look after you and look after our residents that are moving in. And there's lots of support functions as well. We've got accounts within the office. There's lots of administration roles, design roles as well. So there's lots and lots of different stages and lots of roles within that. Next slide, please. These are just a few careers in construction. Just a few examples because there are hundreds. The world is your oyster in construction, I think, in terms of what you can offer and what you might be interested in. You might be interested in academic side of things, in the office side, or you might be interested in terms of the trades and being out on site and physically seeing the buildings grow and having your part in that. There's a few here in terms of architects that would design the buildings. Surveyors would help price the buildings, ensure that we have the right subcontractors on board, coordinating the works, site manager, plumbers, which would do all the heating and mechanical elements of the building. We've got sales and marketing in terms of selling the properties, materials buyer, which would be somebody that would actually essentially buy all the materials for that one one house or that sort of area that we're building in. Engineers, decorators, there's absolutely loads of different roles. I would strongly advise you to go on the Go Construct website, which is a website the CITB set up. It's quite a fun website as well. There's different links on there. You can do a quiz. So it's a bit like a personality test if you like maths, if you like craft. It will take you down a route and give you some suggestions and some ideas of different careers that you might be you've never thought of before, that you think actually that sounds quite good. So that's a really good way. It also gives you tips for applying for jobs in terms of your CV. And where you can apply for apprenticeships and things like that. So that's the Go Construct website. So that's very, very informative and very, very helpful, because I think we'd be here all night if I went through every single career that there was in construction. Thank you. Next slide. Right. In construction, our management and our leadership look for different skills and qualities, because if you've got that interest and that enthusiasm, there's the ability we can train. There's lots of training courses that we can go on to. So these are the sort of the tick skills that we would look for, particularly when we're interviewing. So if you're enthusiastic, if you're motivated, if you're really motivated to get on and do something, you're good at communication in terms of talking to people, getting your messages across, being able to work as a team. You need to work on your own sometimes, but essentially construction is huge teamwork operation to get the projects on site. Problem solving, unfortunately we do come up with a few hiccups sometimes in construction, so it's really about not thinking, sort of giving up and think, oh, that's it, that's the problem, that's an issue. It's how we address it, and actually we can solve things amazingly all together. Be really customer focused to ensure that you're wanting to build something that the end user is going to love using, love being in. Particularly you saw that with the school and the children in the video. Really good organisational skills. A site manager really needs to make sure that all the jobs are done in the correct order on site. Everybody turns up when they should be. Otherwise, it's going to be a complete mayhem. Commercial awareness to make sure what we're building, we're going to make a reasonable profit from. We're not going to be in the red, and we're not going to lose money to keep us staying in business and everyone employed. And one of the other key things is safety, to be aware of safety around you and safety of others, really important. Again, these are things, just some skills and qualities that we would really look for when we're interviewing people. Next slide, please. Okay, there's lots of different routes into construction. If you're particularly interested in technical side of things or craft side of things, very similar routes. You can actually do these through lots of local colleges in our areas, and they can be sort of off and on the job learning. So you can be part-time with an employer, earning a bit of money at the same time, and then you go to college at the same time. So it's sort of a win-win situation really, because it gives you an opportunity really to develop the skills that you learn at college actually on site and to do them. Again, if you go to the Go Construct website, there are lots of options and careers and employers, local employers, that would be able to help you for the routes for that. Lots of colleges in our area that have got construction centres. We've got Yeovil in Somerset, which is fairly close to Dorchester. We've got Weymouth, Bournemouth and Poole, Bridgewater and Taunton College as well, and Exeter College if you go into further and higher sort of education ways. They've also got University Centre in Somerset, Solent, which is Southampton way, University of Exeter, and UWE, which is in University West of England, which is in Bristol. So there's lots of opportunities within the Southwest, so you can progress through college and on the job training, which is probably the best way to do it. Next slide, please. Okay, you're probably fed up of me talking now, so I'm going to go on to some people that would be able to give you a bit more of an insight into different job roles and what they're doing. I'll hand over to Michaela, who's our senior architectural technician, who will give you an insight into her career route and her journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Good evening, everybody. My name's Michaela. I'm a senior architectural technician, and I've been working for CG Fry & Son for about 6.5 years now. I was lucky enough to join as soon as I finished university. I started as a trainee, and I've worked my way up within the company to be where I am today. Since I've been working for the company, I've worked on loads of various sites across the whole of the southwest of England. Some of them are pretty large sites, as you can imagine. I've worked in Cairn in Wiltshire, Wellington in Somerset, and I've also had quite a big involvement on the Poundbury development, which we just saw the video about. The main aspects of my jobs are to produce detailed drawings for planning applications and building regulation applications. I started my career journey at Weymouth College after my GCSEs. I was there for 2 years and I studied a BTEC National Diploma in Construction. Whilst I was there, I learned sort of the basic principles of architectural design, structural and civil engineering, and the building regulations. And I also knew that I'd probably be doing a lot of technical drawing on the computers. So I actually also decided to take an extracurricular class in computer-aided design whilst I was at Weymouth College. And I also gained my City and Guilds levels 2 and 3 in AutoCAD, which was really helpful because I use that every day. Once I finished college, I then went on to Plymouth University. I studied architectural design and structural engineering. Whilst I was there, I learned in much more detail about the architectural design, architectural history, the building regulations, and also about the processes and calculations that the structural engineers would use to make sure that the buildings that we design are structurally sound and safe to live in. I personally decided to take a Bachelor of Science degree because I was more interested in sort of working out the technical side of things, the technical drawing. But you can also study a Bachelor of Arts degree, which is less technical and it's more design based. If you wanted to go down sort of the architect route and become an architect, then that's something that you'd have to look into as the BA rather than the BSc. Next slide, please. Okay, so at CG Fry & Son, we produce all of our drawings in-house, which is great because it means that the design team get to be involved at every single stage of the build process. We start our process with a character assessment where we'll visit the local area. We'll look at sort of the materials that have been used, the architectural features, the design techniques, and then we'll replicate that into the houses that we design. And we do this so that we can make sure that what we build is in keeping with the local surroundings. So we're not going to build anything that really stands out. It will just sort of blend in with what's already there. So for example, if you've got a lot of brick houses in the area, a lot of our houses will also be brick. We'll copy sort of window designs, door surrounds, things like that. Once we've had a look at the area, we'll then go on to our start our drawing process. And the first set of drawings that we'll produce is a site plan, where we'll design all of the roads and we can work out where all the houses are going to go. And then we'll draw an elevation and a 3D visual for every single house. These will go on to the local planning department where they'll consider for a planning application, and the local residents can also have a look and they can make comments, and then they'll come back to us and we can work in comments and have a look at our designs to make sure that everyone's happy with it. You can have a look at the screen now. There are a couple of examples of some planning drawings that do get to be submitted. In the top right there, you've got the site plan, and on the top left is the sort of the 3D visuals that we produce. Another sort of thing that we do look at the planning side is the local ecology. So one thing that we're really careful of is not to disrupt the local wildlife. So we do add in things like bird boxes, bat boxes, hedgehog corridors across our sites. And in some bigger areas, we also look at designing sort of public open spaces so that we can encourage wildlife into the area as well. You can see a picture in the bottom left there where we have actually done this similar sort of thing there on Wellington in Somerset. Once we've finished our planning drawings and we have planning approval, we then move on to the building regulations. So the building regulations are a set of 54 legal requirements that every new house or building has to abide by to make sure that the houses are safe for anyone to enter. This will include things like the fire protection, safe access, ventilation and all that sort of thing. So these drawings are a lot more detailed. There's a lot of notes on them, dimensions. They can be a bit scary to look at to begin with, but once you sort of learn how to read them, they're very, very good drawings to be able to produce. So at the construction side, we also look at drawing some construction details as well. These are sort of smaller design features like bay windows or sash windows or window canopies, door surrounds, that sort of thing. And we'll have a look at how they're going to be built and how they're going to be put together, look at the materials that were going to be used, and we'll draw some sort of diagrams to show how they're going to go, how they're going to work, and how they're going to get put together. These again are very accurate drawings, and the site teams actually use these on site as well to look at when they're building. You can see an example of, I'd say, probably a fairly simple construction detail in the top middle there. This particular detail shows sort of a sort of layout for the bricks for what we designed, a nice border at the top of the wall for a block of flats on Poundbury. The good thing about it is that we can use this detail, now that it's drawn, we can use this detail anywhere, so we can adapt it, we can play around with it and use it on any of our sites. I'd say that drawing up the construction details is probably one of my favourite things. This involves a lot of technical drawing, technical thinking. There's some problem solving involved. They can be a little bit tricky because, you know, sometimes you might envisage it to look one way, but it might not work that way. So you have to think of another way to produce that detail. But it's a good learning curve, and I would say you do learn something new with every detail that you draw. So it's a good thing to get into. Once we finish the construction stage, the next set of drawings that we look at is the sales and marketing. So this looks at sort of like the CGIs, the floor plans and the legal plans that the sales team pass on to potential buyers. These drawings, they're not as detailed, they're not as technical, there's no notes on them, they're often coloured up, they look really nice. But they do need to be extremely accurate, and that's because if somebody's coming to look at buying one of our houses, but the house isn't yet built, then this is the only thing that they're going to see before the house is built. So they do need to be extremely accurate, these drawings. But they're quite fun to get involved in. It's quite arty, they're quite designed, you know, they're nice drawings. So that's another good thing to get involved in. So I hope this has helped to give a little bit of an insight into the role of an architectural technician and the sort of things that you'd need to look at studying if this was a career path that you'd like to take. Personally, I love working for CG Fry & Son. It's a great team to work for. I'm proud of the things that I've achieved since I've been with them and the support that they've given me to work my way up from, as I say, a trainee all the way up to a senior technician. I'm going to pass you on to James now, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the hands-on kind of roles. And I hope this has been really helpful for you. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name's James, and I am the joinery workshop manager. I'm going to talk about two different career roles tonight. One of them is my son Ashton, who's very lucky to have got a position as an assistant site manager. He joined the company in 2017, and he did 2 weeks work experience with Fry's in the summer that year, which led to his current job. And so he spent his first 2 years up at Royal Pavilion with a mentor, doing sort of the finishing side of things. And he went to college. He did a BTEC sort of level 3 there. And he's since then gone on to do an HNC, which he's now be finishing this next month. And so he's been with us nearly 4 years now, and he's progressed now to running his own little site down at Chickerell, which he's enjoying immensely. So yeah, so would you mind playing the video, please, Rebecca?
Hi, my name is Ashton. I'm a site manager for CG Fry, or at least aspiring to be. I've just, at the end of my 4-year course, I've studied level 3 and 4 in the construction and built environment. I'd like to see myself 10 years' time maybe successfully managing a project, i.e. being a project manager or something like that, or even just a bigger site than the one I'm on currently. I currently have my own site at Chickerell, Button Lane, and my day-to-day job roles or activities are to conduct general site safety visits, whether that is for scaffold, plant, welfare, checking that pedestrian routes and traffic management plans are up to date and safe for the contractors on site. I have to book in subcontractors and make sure that we meet the requirements of the programme and that they're in line. As new trades enter site, I have to induct them, inform them of all the site procedures, and as you probably know, we had this coronavirus pandemic, and there's loads of things that they have to be aware of to make sure that we're safe in that sense. I also sometimes have visits from an outside or external safety, building safety group that we use to ensure that we are as safe as possible. They scrutinise and check different bits and bobs, and I have to make sure that they comply with the HSE guidelines. I've worked for Fry's for 3 years, and if it's something you're interested in doing, definitely approach Fry's. All right.
Right, yeah, so that's his little spin of what he sort of does. As a site manager, quite often to get into site management, you've normally done a trade, whether it's carpentry, bricklaying. That's the normal route into site management. But Ashton was quite lucky that he didn't have any of that, so he was sort of a bit of a fish out of water when he joined. And but he's had some good mentoring for the last few years, and he's progressed to what he's doing now. Next slide, please. I'm not sure where we've got the next one for our work. Actually, leave it here a minute. Oliver Smith, he joined us in the same year as Ashton. He couldn't get an apprenticeship when he left school, so he did a full year at college, which is something, if you're interested in doing carpentry, joinery, bricklaying, it's something you can do. Ideally, you do get a placement first, but it worked quite well for Oliver. So when he came to us in his second year, he already had a good knowledge of joinery and woodwork. But when you sort of join a company doing this, your first year or first 2 years is sort of basic sort of joinery and carpentry. He would spend 1 or 2 days at college, and then the rest of the week would be with us. With his on-site sort of training, we would teach him properties of timber, what they can and can't do, any defects. So you would get like knocks, shakes. So you sort of try and work the timber so that you'd lose the bad bits of the wood in it. But he would learn how to do setting out, writing out timber lists, and then actually doing the job. So you'd have to learn all the different joints that we use, hand tools, how to sharpen his tools, and then you sort of progress to the machines. So in a workshop, there's a lot of biggish machines to aid you to cut, plane, and mould the timber. And to use these things, you have to have a lot of training, and you also have to do a lot of health and safety sort of training to make sure that you stay safe, which is a very big thing in the construction industry, that everything that people do, your paramount thing is the safety. So in like the workshop, we invest in machines which try to make things safer as time goes on. We have a company that comes around, BSG, that does an inspection on a yearly sort of thing, and they look at things around the workshop to see what we can improve upon. So if you wouldn't mind playing the slide there, you'll see one of our machines in action. So Oliver is going to run some timber through a machine called a four-sided planer. On the sort of straighten it and square it up, and then you have to go for a thickness planer and then do thickness to the size. So this machine will save 4 or 5 times the amount of labour that would be with the other machine, but also it makes things a lot safer. In the workshop, we've got things like cross-cut saws, rip saws, penning machines, and a spindle molder, which is a machine, is like what, I don't know if you've heard of, like a big router, so it shapes the timber to different profiles. So when we make things like porches, they're usually quite decorative, so the spindle would do the decorative moulding on there. So once you sort of got a job given by me and you have all the detail on there, some of it is from like when Michaela's done drawings for like a porch and any sort of specific sort of job that sort of is for like the Poundbury, where there's quite a lot of interesting joinery made up there. And so the guys would get that job, and then we talk through what's going to be made. There's drawings to follow, so you learn how to read drawings, and then you would get your materials out and plane up, machine up, and then once everything's sort of in prepared sort of state, you take it back to your bench, and then you start assembling it and finishing it, and then it gets painted and then sent on to site. So that's a little bit of things that go on with joinery. But so we make various things for the company. We make little porches for sites, gates, things called arch formers. So when they have like a brick arch over a window, we make a former to go over the top of that. So in this image here, you can see a few of the things that Oliver has been involved in making. So top left-hand corner is like a bay window. So we would have made the porch that goes on top. So you've got all the moulding on there and the roof. Then you've got like the bay window below. So that's sort of made, and then you've got like the covered bits, and then below there's some paneling. So all of that is made up in various sort of stages. And then also you can see above there, there's some barge board, which is quite fancy. That's another thing that we would make in the workshop. Below that, you've got some porches and window details. So we would make the porch canopies that go on top of those frames. Also down below, again, there's a wardrobe there that Oliver made for home. So he came in weekends and evenings with someone else in the workshop being with him, and he designed and made that. So after 4 years, that's something that he's gained experience with and gone on to do. Up in the middle, sort of top right here, you got, so in the middle, you got a gate that Oliver made, which is up on Poundbury, and then the top right hand corner is one of the kitchens in the Royal Pavilion. Oliver has helped in making some of the kitchens there, not done it all on his own because he's still learning. Even he's finished his apprenticeship, I would say 7 years really before you're a pretty competent joiner, but he's doing very well. But yes, so that's a few things that we can make on fries. But he's made staircases, which is everything. He's done very well. With staircases, there's lots of regulations we have to sort of work to make a staircase. So you've got your building regulations of how steep the stairs is, to make it an easy going. So you've got like the rises and going on the treads. All of those things have to be worked out and set out before you make the staircase. So yeah, there's lots of things to learn in joinery or carpentry, to actually joinery tends to be the making of the components, and then the carpentry tends to be on site fitting them. Hopefully, yes, that's a little insight to sort of what we do in the joinery shop. Next slide, please.
Thank you, James. Unfortunately, Callum couldn't be with us today, but he's one of our surveyors. He, again, went through a bit of a training and an on-job training route, which was part-time at university and part-time with an employer. He wasn't with us at the time. He was with a bricklaying company in Galliford Try. So he did a part-time course, which was actually about 5 years in total. So went from his GCSEs, his A-levels, and did a BTEC in engineering, and then went on to Southampton Solent University, where he did his HNC in quantity surveying. So that's the 2-year course. And then at the University West of England in quantity surveying and commercial management. So that's a 3 years, that's 5 years altogether. He's been with us for a few years now. Next slide, please, which will show you a few of the projects that Callum's been involved with at CG Fry's. Most notorious is the Monet Spa, which is a luxury day spa at Poundbury, which is sort of in the basement of the Royal Pavilion. So he worked on that one, and he's also worked on 3 blocks of apartments for Poor Housing Partnership down in Poole, Dorset. So essentially within Callum's role, he would look at all the commercial elements of the project. He would ensure we had the materials on site, that they were procured in the right way, and that all the subcontractors were employed, that they had the right tickets, the right procedures, the right cost for the project, to ensure you've got these, as you see, these absolutely wonderful pictures of finished projects. And it's something great, I think, in construction that you can say, my gosh, I was involved in this project. It's a bit of a legacy to leave. So that's one of the good things. And also every day, I think, even when you're qualified, fully qualified, is learning sort of learning day, really. And you take on, like we very much have so at Poundbury, what we've learnt at Poundbury, we take on to other developments, other design elements, other practicalities, other buildability ways that we do things. So every day is a learning day in the construction industry. It's great fun and very varied. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview on a few different careers that we have at CG Fry.
Thank you, Sarah. So, I mean, that was really thorough, and you can see the passion coming through in all of you and all the different, jobs that you can do. And I think it's really clear, the career paths and the routes through education or straight into employment that you'd need to take if you want to get into these kind of roles in construction. So that was really thorough. If anybody has any questions, they can either put your hand up or put it into the chat. Okay, nothing. Then just one person saying thank you, and that's really, really thorough and really helpful. So that's great. So thank you all very much indeed for coming along, and to Sarah, Michaela and James for that really insightful presentation, and to CG Fry and the Duchy of Cornwall for coming along today and supporting us in delivering this talk to you. And I hope you all have a really nice evening. Thank you.